This defense attorney took. He was asking her basically questions. She didn't think during the time that this quote-unquote abuse was going on that in fact the child was being hurt. Now, how does that help?
Well, it helps him because he's trying to lay it out for the jury. This is the child's mother, and even she, as warped as she may be, she would not allow her child to be abused, and so it seemed on the outside, at least, that things were being done properly. The way that what we just saw is a way that having a witness with warts as a prosecutor can actually help you, because the defense attorney is basically doing the only thing that he can do, which is kind of go on the attack against the mom. The prosecutor, who has charged the mother and the father, will be able to sit back and say, listen, you can't rely on her judgment because she's warped as well. She was under his spell. She wasn't clear on things, and you can't rely on her when she's saying that everything seemed to be okay because we don't trust her judgment.
Right.
So that way the prosecution actually wins by having two parents who should never be parents.
It's one of those few times as a prosecutor or a lawyer in any case you get to have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah.
Because you get to turn around and say, well, we want to believe her on some parts, but then on other parts she's not really reliable because she was obviously, you know, controlled by some weird thoughts or some weird ideas about who this man was.
Yeah, sometimes when you're a prosecutor and you have witnesses that have committed crimes as your only witnesses, you can actually be in the catbird seat, which is where the prosecutor is here.
I have one more prognosticating question for you. I think this defense attorney is taking sort of a gentle approach to this witness. His tone has been very light, which I think is a good thing to do. But one thing he has been reluctant to do in this case is actually point the finger at the parents in this case and say, you are the guys responsible. My guy was involved in this accidental fall, but you guys are responsible for all these pre-existing injuries and all this abuse. Does he go after this witness at some point and say, isn't it true that you were the one that abused this child? You were the one that were involved in these incidents with this baby?
You might want to do that in a different case, but where the documentary evidence and the videotape evidence as taken by this witness shows a continuing pattern that the defendant in this case was the one who actually did it over and over and over again, then you could be running into a wall. He is attacking her. I mean, he is raising issues concerning her believability by talking about how she never reported things to the police, how she never, you know, mentioned to the police that this was a dangerous man or a violent man who had been abusing the child or her, you know, things like that. But you have to be very careful the way you go about that attack.
Yeah, it's such an uphill battle for the defense in this case. I mean, you got the videotape, you got her testimony, you got the father's testimony. It's not an easy one. I definitely don't envy the defense in this case. Now, we have to take a quick break, but before we go, let me remind you that Court TV's cameras are still in Cleveland for the Sam Shepard trial, and you can watch it live on the web. Dr. Sam Shepard spent a decade behind bars for the death of his wife. The conviction was overturned, and a second trial resulted in an acquittal. Well, now his son, Sam Reese Shepard, is in court suing the state of Ohio for the wrongful imprisonment of his father, an act he claims led to his father's premature death at the age of 47. Now, in order to win the case, he has to do more than just show that his father was not guilty. He must prove that he was innocent. A big difference in the eyes of the law. So be sure to turn to CourtTV.com for live coverage of the trial.